Well, howdy folks. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm doing a project up in my living room. I know I'm down in the basement right now, but I'm going to go up in the living room. Before I do the project, I wanted to show you what I was going to do. So in our living room, we don't have any lights in the ceiling at all, and it can get pretty dark in there. We have a couple lamps there, obviously, but nothing in the ceiling. A lot of the older homes, even some of the newer homes, they don't put lights in the ceiling, in the living room especially. I don't know why, but they don't. So I'm going to add some lights to our ceiling. Now, a part of my issue is it's hard for me to get to a good spot for a light switch. I can't get to the switch by the doors because you can't get back to that spot in the attic. Long story short, I came up with the idea, since I like Wi-Fi stuff, I decided to get some wafer lights that are Wi-Fi that I can run off of Echo, Alexa, whatever, Google app on the phone, that kind of thing, to turn them on and off and things like that. And down the road, if I absolutely have to, there is a wall that I can put a switch on. It's just inconvenient, but at least we would have a switch. So if it doesn't work out this way, we'll add a switch later. But for now, what I'm going to use are these little 4-inch wafer lights. I got 4 of them I'm going to put in there, and they're just the thickness of the sheetrock or less than, so I don't have to worry about the ceiling joists. I can place this even if it's on the edge, or if it's in the middle, you can turn it so that it comes down this way. So you can manipulate this in a way to avoid the ceiling joist if I happen to hit one. Obviously this has a driver that you plug in that goes in the attic that you have to run a wire to. My attic's not fun to get in, so that's going to be interesting. So you do have to do electrical work to do this, but I'm okay with that. I can handle it. I'll have links in the description below to some of the things I use to these lights if you end up liking them. We'll see how they work. I hope they're okay. I got 4-inch. I actually meant to get 6-inch, but somehow I ended up with 4-inch. But I think they'll be okay. We're going to try it anyway. Hey, you can always go bigger. It's hard to go smaller when you drill a hole in the ceiling. Anyway, we're going to go upstairs and we're going to locate where we want these. And then we're going to drill the holes. And then we're going to run power. We're going to install these little suckers up in the ceiling, and we're going to see how they work. Enough talking. Time to get to doing. Let's go. So there are a couple things you need to do before you get ready for a project like this. Number one, make sure you have access to power, because you're going to have power. These are not battery powered, so you need electricity. If you're going to put in a switch, make sure you have access to wherever you're going to put the switch in. And then you have to figure out where you're going to lay these out, or how you're going to lay them out. And men, don't just go all willy-nilly and figure out where you want them. You need to ask a professional, get them involved, and get these laid out correctly. So I'm going to ask a professional right now. Hey, hun. Now, actually, we already discussed where to lay these out, so I'm not going to go through the whole process. You're just going to want to know, are you going to want them symmetrical, or are you going to want them in certain places? Figure that out. Take your pencil, preferably your mechanical pencil like this. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to watch that video. It's a pretty good pencil. I do recommend marking this with a pencil, because if you mess up, if you use a marker and you mess up, it's going to be harder to fix. With a pencil, you can just erase it or cover it up or wash it off. One of the things I recommend, if you're going to do this and you're going to have them lined up with each other, figure out where you want your first one and then do everything off that, and just figure out where you want your second one, line it up, measure from wall to wall, or measure from one wall to the spot, and just get them even. So I already marked where we want our first one, and I'm going to measure from that wall over and from the wall behind me over, so I can get that spot, because I want it symmetrical with that down there. So I'm going to come the same distance from the outer wall out, and then the one we're putting over here, I want from that wall out. I'm going to get those two measurements, and then for my fourth one, it'll just be measured from the distance between this one and that one and lined up with the other. You can figure that out. I'm not going to go through how to do that because everyone's going to be different. I'm just going to get these marked. We'll come back and we'll drill the holes. Now, unfortunately, I don't think Sonny is going to be a whole lot of help today, since we're on the ceiling and we're getting in the attic. So he's just going to help by laying around and staying out of my way. Right, Sonny? Okay, so I got my 4 locations marked where I want my lights. Now the next part is the scary part. That's where you got to cut the holes. There's different ways you can cut the holes, obviously. You can draw out a circle, cut it with a sheetrock knife, draw out a circle, cut it with a sheetrock saw, or you can do like I did. I have a hole saw. These particular lights, if you get these exact ones, If you get something different, you need to check the hole size. These lights require a 110 millimeter or about 4 1/4, 4 3/8 drill bit or hole saw. If you're going to go that route, which that's the route I went with a hole saw, and it's the exact size, so I'm going to drill the ceiling. And you'll notice I have this, it's kind of like a cone of shame for the drill. So if you want more information on this cone of shame for your drill, this will catch all the dust coming from the hole that I cut in the ceiling, so it doesn't make a mess in the living room. But if you want more information on this, I'll leave a link in the description below to a video I did on this. I'll also leave a link to it on Amazon down below. Even though I'm using this, I'm still going to cover the couch with an old blanket or something for anything that gets loose, or for my feet, because I'll probably be standing on the couch to drill this hole. We're just going to jump right in and drill the hole. The bad thing is, if you jack up, the ceiling's a little bit more difficult to repair, especially if you have popcorn texture. I have knockdown texture on here. If it's smooth, it's a little easier, but it's still a hassle. Make sure you get it right. Measure twice. Use the hole saw once. Measure 3 times. I didn't hit a joist on this one, so it came right out. Don't tip your drill. Tip a waitress, don't tip your drill. And there it is. All right, so I got all 4 holes drilled. As you can see, there's one, there's one, there's one, and there's one. They're all lined up pretty good. We'll check the fit, make sure it fits right. Fits right in there. So we should be good. I will say you don't have a lot of room to cover things up, so be careful. Make sure you don't damage these edges, like I did a little bit on that one. So you're gonna run your main power into one of these. You need a Romex connector to put in here to protect that. And then you're gonna come out and you're gonna go into the next one. Now your last one, you only need to knock one of these out, so make sure you remember that. But you are gonna have to go in here and wire these up. There's not a lot of room in here. My next thing to do is going to be to go up in the attic. So yeah, I'm going to get to pulling some wire, but I want to hook these up down here, and then I'll put them up in after they're hooked up. That way I don't have to set up there and hook them up. So a little tip here, if you're going to go in the attic and try to locate these holes, find something that you can put through the hole. I just had some scrap plywood strips. I stuck them up through each hole, just so when I go in the attic, I can look for that plywood sticking up. But if you have some wire or anything that'll go up through there, that'll help you locate where you're going to be running your wire. I really don't like coming up here. It's not fit for man nor beast. As you can see, definitely not made for people. But here we go, coming on up. It's going to be dark up here, but never fear. I have my trusty headlamp on. And guess what? I can turn it on with just waving my hand. Now this might blind you. Look at that. This will help us see up here really well. Now, if you're interested in this, there's another video on this. I'll leave a link in the description below. As you can see, my boards, you can see a board sticking up there under the insulation. There should be another one. There's one back there. There's one there by that ductwork, and there's one right under this ductwork. Right there. So those are where my holes are. That's what I got to do. So I got my wire, and I'm just going to run wire. And as you can see, this is not tall enough for me to stand up, which is bad. Got my trusty knee pads on. I'm going to turn the camera off for now. You've seen enough up here. I'm just going to run a wire from that board right there over to that board over there, and then back over to this board. I'm going to end at that board right there. Okay, so as you can see, I got the wires down through there. So now I'm going to hook up the drivers while I'm down here. This is what I did not want to do. You saw that attic. I didn't want to sit in that attic and take care of all these connections into this. while I'm up there. So I'm going to do them down here and then just slip that up there. And basically I'll be done except for powering it up. I do not have a power wire going to this yet. So everything's safe. Don't worry about that. I'll show you how to hook one of these up and then I'll get the rest of them done here in just a second. So I'm going to start on this one right above me that's where my power is going to come in. So I already put the Romex connectors on these boxes. So all of them get 2 because I got my power coming in and I got my cable going out to the next light. The next one will be the same way, and so on until I get to the end. And for the very end where there's nothing else, I only have one Romex connector on there. I didn't put one on the other side. I didn't take the knockout. Just keep that in mind. This one's for the end. I don't want to wire it in here. So obviously you're going to have to get your wire stripped. If you have the tools for that, great. I'd have one somewhere that I can take this sheathing off, but I can't find it, so I'm just going to use a knife and then use my wire strippers to strip the wires down. These lights do come with wire nuts if you want to use those. I'm not going to use those. I have these connectors I'm going to use. Just push them in and don't have to worry about the wire nut. But it also has these little springs that you have to put on the light right here, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. Now obviously if you're not comfortable with electrical work, don't do this part. Hire someone or find a buddy, or maybe get your wife to do it. I don't know. Now these driver boxes do have a tab on there, right there, so you can fasten it to a joist up above, which is what I'm going to do. The thing I don't like about these is they have the Romex connector area right where that tab is, and so you have to put this a certain way or you won't be able to get to that tab. Another thing I wish they would do is make this box a little bit bigger. I think it's going to get crowded with 3 connections in there, but we'll see. So run your Romex through first, always first. And again, I have no power to these wires. Just kidding. Do this at your own risk. So I'm going to do the other ones just like that, except the end, of course. I only have 2 there. One thing to keep in mind is your light plugs into this piece. So you put this back up there, or actually we can plug that in now before I put it up there. Let's just do that. So when you're ready to put your light in, which I'm going to go ahead and do that now, it comes with these little tabs that go on here. So you want to make sure and put them on. I'll see if I can show you how to do that while I'm up here. You want to make sure and put them on so that they stick out the side like this. And it might be, there's probably instructions on it, but I don't like to read instructions. I'll just figure it out. So if I put that, well, that ain't right. Oh, I think I know. Nope, that ain't right. I'm gonna flip it. Nope, that ain't right. So far, not so good. I don't know.
2 hours later.
Alright, so I'll admit it. That took me a minute or 2, but I still didn't look at the instructions. So you'll see there's a little ear spring on that, and it's got to go behind this piece here. So let me see if I can show you here. This piece goes behind that, and then you put the spring on just like that, so that sticks down. It stays down there. So when you put it up, you stick them up like that, and it comes down on your sheetrock and holds the light in place. So that's how you do it. You don't need any stinking instructions. So now we can plug this in here, and it does have a little, I'll just show you, maybe. You can see on this one it's got a little slot, so it has a tab on this end that goes in that slot, and then it will twist to lock it in place. Just like that. It locks in place. You don't need to tape this or anything like that. So this light is ready to go, other than I got to hook power up above. So what I'm going to do is stick this up here, then we're going to put this light in. Flip the tab up. Hope you can see that. I don't know if you can or not, but I'll try to zoom in as much as I can. So I'm going to hold that tab up above the rock. This tab, just straighten up, just like that. Ta-da! Look at that. I'm going to get the rest of them in, then I'm going to power it up, and we're going to see what it looks like. I'll show you the app as well. I'll show it to you on Alexa, that kind of thing, briefly. I'm not going to go through everything. So I will be back when the rest of these are wired up. All right, so I got everything wired in. My wife's getting ready to turn the breaker back on. We'll see what happens. Ta-da! Wow. They're blinking because they're finding the Wi-Fi. So don't let that trouble you. So I'm going to go to the app and we will get that set up. All right, so turn that one off. So that one's over there. That's that one over there. So should be able to name that. I'm going to name them 1, 2, 3, 4 around the circle here. If you want to use it with Alexa or Google, you'll have to go through the process of setting that up through your Alexa or Google. I'll just come back on and show you that it works that way. Echo, please turn off living room 2. Echo, turn on living room 2. So there, it just came on. I wonder if it will dim it. Let's just see. Let's just look at one of these and see. How about this one right here? That one's number 4. Echo, dim living room 4 to 20%. Aha, it did. So you can do that. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this one. As you can see, they do work, and I think we're going to be okay. Man, if you got any use out of this at all, give me a thumbs up. And I appreciate you hitting that subscribe button if you haven't already. You're not going to want to miss out on some other things coming up. So, hey, I appreciate you watching, and I pray that God blesses you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.